What can I say? Sometimes it's easier that way. And what can I do?
Howdy ho!
That's right, we're back to talking about nothing again. And you're back to not watching us.
All
We're
right.
listening to our theme song, What Can I Say by Brandy Robinson, whose album Beautiful Graffiti is available on bandcamp.com, and you can check her YouTube channel, Brandy Robinson Music.
Do that.
Anyway.
Yes, the plug over.
Go away from our video and do it now.
They would have to be watching our video to begin with.
A guy can dream.
Yeah.
So, what's this one about, Ian?
So, I was just thinking, when it comes to console role-playing games, what would we be considered the best era of console role-playing games?
Well, I thought we were going like role-playing games in general. What was the best era?
I also want to do video games, console games.
Then Dale doesn't have much of.
No, that is specifically why I wanted to get Jeremy in on this one, because
Okay.
Jeremy will know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I think we can probably narrow it down to either the Super Nintendo era or the PlayStation 1 era.
So early '90s or late '90s?
Yes.
Because without a doubt, the '90s were it.
The big rule I have here is reports don't count. So Chrono Trigger is a Super Nintendo game, even though it has a PlayStation release. Also, I don't think at this point we should count bad games against it, because at this point everybody knows not to play Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh yeah, and there was so much shovelware that
Oh yeah.
stuff that just piled on. You'd have far more bad than good.
I'd want to make a thing, or I will happily accept third place, but I think PlayStation 2 had just some absolutely stellar role-playing games. Like, it had the two Dark Cloud games, Dragon Quest VIII. I defend Final Fantasy X. I think Final Fantasy X is a great game, even if Titus is kind of annoying.
I never
And
played.
Blitzball sucks.
I still never played Final Fantasy X. But
I think Titus is better than Cloud, and if this video gets 150 views, I will do a video about why Titus is a better character than Cloud. Then you gotta tell your friends, guy who watches us. Guy.
I must put this video on like the Final Fantasy Reddit.
Oh,
Do it. We're gonna be talking a lot of Final Fantasy.
Yeah. To be fair, in the era, a lot of Final Fantasy.
Especially considering Super Nintendo and PlayStation era, especially Super Nintendo. There's some great Final Fantasy games on the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so what do you think, Josh, Jeremy?
Well, I think without a doubt, like you said, the Super Nintendo and PlayStation era, because the '90s ruled the console video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take that, Wizardry.
Wizardry? Well, Wizardry was I was gonna say
It was PC.
It was PC. It did. Wizardry 5 did have a actually pretty good SNES port.
But still.
I mean, if you want to drop, we know what the 2 nuclear bombs for each console would be.
Well, you had Final Fantasies.
Final Fantasy 7 for the PlayStation 1, and Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo.
Yes. It was like a little mixed bag on what console they'd wind up on, but you had your Dragon Quest titles.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, so do you think that RPGs reached its apex at the Super Nintendo and declined in PlayStation, or do you think that PlayStation built on what the Super Nintendo brought us?
Well,
And I know you because you play as much console role-playing games as I do.
yeah. I think definitely this Super Nintendo was when they really just started coming to their own. Because, I mean, you had Chrono Trigger, you had things like
They
Legacy
were-
of Bahamut.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
there
think
were
that's
so
what it's
many
called.
good role-playing games. For
Secret of Mana.
Secret
Then
of Mana, yeah.
was it? Give me a sec. Well, honey. What do you need, bug?
Kid stuff happening. So that happens when we do it live.
Yep.
Well, I was set to sit here and be educated.
Well, you can add a little to the discussion now because we're secretly going to do tabletop while he's gone. What was what do you think was the best time period for tabletop role playing?
I think a lot of people would say right now with how popular 5e is getting, but I don't.
I don't think so. I honestly think a little further back. Again, I'm going to probably say late 80s, early 90s. Mostly because that's when D&D was having its heyday with the Advanced came in. It was really starting to get popular back then.
Yeah, that's definitely when it. I think it started really though coming into its own around the 3.5.
Yeah, there was definitely a renaissance of people role playing again during that time. By the way, while you're gone, we're secretly talking tabletop.
Okay, that's fine. I do like tabletop games.
Yeah. It was like there was a big wave in the 90s with role playing, and then it faded out and then came back basically when 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons came in.
Well, I mean, I think gaming's seen a huge thing more than ever now because of the popularity of 5th edition.
Yeah, that
5th edition seems really popular.
It's really popular, but I still feel like it's limited. Well, not necessarily limited, but I definitely feel like that if I wanted to play something like 5th edition, I'd rather play Pathfinder 1st edition. Because they just feel so similar to me.
I saw a lot of people compare Pathfinder 2nd edition, saying it's super close to...
Oh, yeah, those two, that's definitely... They are definitely a lot closer, but there's so much in 5th edition, it's so clearly them trying to throw back to 3.5.
Yeah, it's like 1990, I think, that's when Battletech and MechWarrior had the clan invasion. That really spiked their popularity up a little bit.
But, you know, I think you are right, in spite of it being long before my time. I do think advanced AD&D is what really kicked off
a lot of role
tabletop.
playing. It's like that, and the production.
Yeah, that roped a lot of people more people into playing it than were before.
Yeah, the production of the Dragon magazine, talking about not only Dungeons and Dragons but other games, surely helped as well.
And the relatively open source nature that allowed you to have so many campaign settings.
Oh yeah,
Third party campaign settings. Because I mean, yeah, they have Greyhawk and
right.
Oh yeah.
Faerun, but also
anyway,
you had Planescape.
Now we're back. Now Ian is back. We weren't talking about nothing.
Okay.
So where were we?
I think we were talking about Secret of Mana. What was Second in Data, whatever, 3? What did it get reported as in America? Trials of Mana?
I believe it's Trials of Mana.
Yeah.
I know Trials of Mana was one of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though it was only available in the Super Famicom before emulation and a report. Yes, anyway, the great...
Secret of Gaia was an interesting...
Secret of Gaia. Have you ever played Secret of Evermore?
I did not.
Oh, man, it is one of the weirdest role-playing games. It's like got this...
Weirder than Earthbound?
Weird in a different way.
Fair enough.
It's got like this weird, like, half caveman. It feels almost like Torok, where it's like caveman stuff. Oh, but here's weird alien rocket launcher future tech. But yeah, even Earthbound.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually don't care for Earthbound.
I've honestly never played it.
I find a lot of the inventory and like character management and the fact that you got to go to an ATM to get your money, I find a lot of it tedious to the point it did kind of take me out of the game. But I know people adore Earthbound, so...
Sometimes you put too much realism into a game, and it ruins the fun.
Yeah.
So you're playing the game to escape that.
Sometimes.
Well, it's more like mechanics that a lot of people thought were interesting turned out to just be a drag on the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know one guy who constantly who rails on weapon durability.
Oh yeah, I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when it doesn't make sense at all. Like you're playing a modernish game when you have handgun durability.
Yeah.
You're not going to wear out a handgun in the time that you're going to spend in the game.
That's kind of how I felt about that Zelda, a post-apocalyptic game.
The Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild. I was like,
Weapons break too fast.
yeah, I'm like, even if it is a shitty axe, I should be able to get more than 4 swings out of it before it shatters. One of the things, I didn't mind it in the Dark Cloud game because weapons had a lot of durability. It took a long time for the weapon to finally break.
And if you had a good weapon, you could repair it yourself.
Mm.
That was a big thing for me.
And I get it. The weapon durability was meant to encourage more exploration and crafting, but it's too little.
It broke too. The weapons broke too fast.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a thing. But anyway, so we were talking about Super Nintendo role-playing games. You played the Shadowrun Super Nintendo game?
I think only once I was at your house, I think we messed with it a little bit.
That's another... That one was actually really, really good. So I guess those are the cases for the Super Nintendo. Plus, of course, Final Fantasy 4. I adore Final Fantasy 4. I think Final Fantasy 4 is a great game.
Also, like the first 2 Breath of Fires.
Yeah, the first 2 Breath of Fires. I actually just recently, because I have a... never mind. I'm not going to say what I have. I've been replaying Breath of Fire 1, and while I enjoy it, I do find that there are too many random encounters.
Yeah, that it was like happened a lot.
As much as I like the Final Fantasy like games, I have an issue with it, and that's the timer bar.
Mm-hmm.
It goes too slow. There will be points where you're waiting 3-4 seconds for someone, and even Chrono Trigger is bad about that. Even though Chrono Trigger is not quite as bad, but where you're just waiting 3 or 4, nothing's happening on screen. You're just waiting for somebody to fill their bar up so they can act. Which Final Fantasy X is just like, this is the order they go in. Titus moves, then Waka, enemy, and you just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that was one of the improvements.
Also, the ability to just swap out characters mid-fight.
That's another one. I think 10 did a lot of good things, and I don't think it was just... I think it was a good game. I just don't think it was top tier.
What hurt Final Fantasy X, honestly, were the cutscenes.
Yeah.
That was the big issue.
But speaking of Chrono Trigger, I think my abridged Chrono Trigger might actually be done this year.
Oh, yeah?
We're getting close. We're getting close to the end, so probably. We'll see.
But I mean, if you're talking RPGs on the Super Nintendo, and Chrono Trigger probably is one of the best. I like Chrono Trigger. I don't know if they're the first game to do it, but they're certainly the game that made people think about dual techs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, more than just, okay, I have the fighter mage healer in the party. You think, well, how do these 2 characters interact with each other? This character's ability plus this character's ability. Because honestly, boss fights are made and broken on what dual techs you have access to.
Combo moves were pretty cool, yeah.
It's a brilliant system, and it's a fun system. So, I mean, those are the case for... Then, of course, the PlayStation, I think there's a lot of good role-playing games on the PlayStation that don't quite match Chrono Trigger, Breath of Fire, Earthbound, and Chrono Trigger, Breath of Fire, Earthbound, and Secret of Mana, and Final Fantasy 4. And people, I didn't care for 6 as much. People love Final Fantasy 6.
Mm-hmm.
I like 5. I like 5 better than 6, but
to be fair, a big reason people love 6 is just Kafka.
yeah.
The villain makes
just
6.
Kafka.
I'm sorry.
The writing in 6 is spectacular.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation era.
Of course,
You got
Yeah.
7.
Final Fantasy 7.
This is 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, well, 8 sucks, and I hear not that many people defend 8.
I'll say
I like 9, but
I'll say 8's definitely not trash tier like some of these other things I've seen, but it's not
But anyway,
all the way up there.
Final Fantasy Tactics.
yeah, I didn't even think about Final Fantasy Tactics in this conversation, but yeah, Tactics is...
That was the game that convinced me to buy a PlayStation. So, yeah.
And like I said, Final Fantasy 7, I played Final Fantasy 7 recently, not the remake, so I can't say what the remake changed, but I found fights in 7 to be a slog. Not only waiting, but like you would be doing 70 points of damage to something with like 700 hit points.
It took
So
so long.
You're
not even a boss. What the heck?
Exactly. I think what people liked about 7 is not even necessarily Cloud, but Cloud's
The story.
identity, and specifically the story of Cloud's identity crisis, because I think a lot of people related to Cloud's
And
identity crisis.
At the time, it was super advanced, and a lot of people have nostalgia goggles.
And
they were
I
blown
will-
away at the time.
And while not everything worked, I will say Final Fantasy VII gave you a constant variety of new things to try.
Yeah.
The motorcycle minigame when you're leaving the Shinra headquarters, the weird minigame where you have to rub your arms to keep yourself from getting hypothermia. I mean, it was dumb, but there was an attempt at innovation.
the CPR minigame.
The CPR minigame. I mean, a lot of it's just weird. My favorites, it's just a dumb minigame. My favorites are you're trying to disguise yourself as the soldier, so you have to like mimic the marching orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to blend in with the parade, and I've never gotten good enough to get anything other than them literally sending you a bomb. You get a grenade,
Yeah.
because you do so poorly. They send you a bomb. It just happens to be to not blow up, and you can use it later.
Well, I like that. The intent. I like one theory of why that happens. Yeah, they intentionally sent you a bomb. Well, Cloud's a soldier. Quick. Oh, this is a bomb. Done.
Oh, so
Mine now.
you repurposed it. Okay, that's nice.
Can I talk about Legend of Legaia?
No, you didn't.
I said, can I?
Oh, go ahead.
Legend of Legaia is an amazing game. Have you played it, Jeremy? I assume you have.
I don't think I got
Yeah.
very far in it, but
Oh my gosh, the art system of Legend of Legaia. So just to explain to you how it works is you have 4 attacks: high, low, weapon, and then you have a thing on your arm called a Rasaru, which is like a symbiote almost. So you have characters, you have a bar, and you fill it with high, low, different attacks, and you have combos. So like one character combo might have a combo of like forward down, almost like a fighting game. But as the bar gets bigger, as you level up, you can chain it. So you have one combo that goes forward down, and then one combo that goes down, up. You can go forward down, up, and hit both of those combos. Which is the way magic in the game, it's all blue magic. You earn it by beating enemies. But other than the healing spells, I never used any of it, because like if you get that combo system efficient, man, you can just wail on enemies crazy.
Which brings me to another game that a lot of people decry, but not for the game itself. They decry it solely
I must
for
be
what
drunk.
it's linked to. Chrono Cross.
I like Chrono Cross.
I love Chrono Cross, but here's the other thing. I played Chrono Cross. I never had a Super Nintendo growing up. So I played Chrono Cross long before I even heard of Chrono Trigger. I didn't have that attachment to Chrono Trigger or realize this was anything but its own game.
So when the offenses happened, you weren't offended.
Yes. I didn't know who these characters were when they were there.
I was able to separate myself from the offenses. It didn't offend me. And once again, like, as somebody who played Super Nintendo, my experience with role-playing games on the Super Nintendo was predominantly Secret of Mana and Breath of Fire, so I also didn't have the attach. I don't think I ever really got into Chrono Trigger until I got a PlayStation and got the report of Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, when I got the report. I did find out about Chrono Trigger before I found the report came out. But
I knew about it, but I didn't have an attachment to it, like you said. My big issue with Chrono Cross kind of was just they just dumped like characters on you, and it was just like, but it didn't really matter which characters you used. They just had a dialect filter. It didn't change much.
And that's another important thing. Most of the time when I talk about problems with Chrono Cross, it's only in relation to the fact that it is linked to Chrono Trigger. Like, one of the big issues with Chrono Cross is the lack of dual text.
Yeah.
You have an immense number of characters. You don't even have... I don't think there's even 15 dual texts. There's only 2 triple texts.
There's not a lot, no.
There's probably more dual text in Chrono Trigger than there are.
Oh, probably. I think Chrono Trigger are probably almost as many combo texts as there are individual spells in the game.
Close, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, Chrono gets confused, I believe is the name of the technique. And then that can latch on to Marl for Ice Sword, or Luca for Fire Sword. And for as badass as he is, Magus' issue is he just lacks multi-attacks.
He's the guy guy you run if you wanted to go solo with your powerful skills.
Yeah.
But, and that, again, but that lack of dual text is only an issue if you count it as a sequel follow-up to Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, you're right.
But
well, no, I'll tell you what I think the most egregious thing is that there are 15, meaning there are some. If they just cut it out completely, I don't think people would have as much of an issue with it. It's like, okay, so we're not doing dual text. Then you get one dual text and you're like, oh, so you're just basically teasing me with dual text. Like I said, I think Chrono Cross is an okay game. I found the element system to be kind of... I don't like the materia system in Final Fantasy VII either. I find it cumbersome and awkward, and I felt that way about the element system in Chrono Cross.
I absolutely hated the draw system in 8.
Oh, the draw system in 8 is just a bad system.
Yeah, it is. It's a bad system, but...
There's a game that has a cult following, and you probably know it, that people like, but I don't think enough mainstream people like. Legend of Dragoon.
God, I love that game.
I did too.
Oh, I love that game.
I feel like people, the people who have played it have nothing but praise for it.
Absolutely.
Just not enough people played it.
Oh, the timing to increase your attack power.
It did that timing thing. It did right what Final Fantasy VIII tried to do, and just. I think it's because in Final Fantasy VIII there wasn't as clear an indicator of if you did it right or not.
Yeah.
Although I guess it really did start with Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
Which we didn't mention for the Super Nintendo, which is a great game. I mean, it's a spectacular game. But, yeah, like, you knew, like, oh, there was a big, like, you got the like, overlapping crosshairs, you're like, oh, I did it. It's a very clear indicator, whereas Final Fantasy VIII, it's like, oh, the particle effects was a little better for... So, let's see, I guess, the Legend of the God. I'm trying to think of some more of the...
Another one that was a cult following, I never got to play it because I was never able to acquire it. Lunar Silver Star Story.
Oh my god.
Lunar 1 and 2, really good. Apparently...
They are reports, they don't count. They were originally Sega Master Drive games.
Okay.
Silver Story 2 we might count because they radically changed the gameplay. It used to be you earned skill points that you applied to your weapons or your skills to increase them. And you also use them to save the game. And people hated it. So when they reported it, they got rid of the system. You level up, you just get your specials as you level up, and you just save when you get the saves. But no, they are reports, they don't count, but they are fantastic. Especially the first one. The main character, Alex, is such a likable... And his pet, cat and all, they're just so likable characters. He's actually a dragon! He just doesn't know it. And in the second game, your Ruby, your cat familiar, she's like, I'm a red dragon in disguise, and everybody's like, yeah, okay. And then you finally meet Null from the white dragon and he's like, yeah, this is what baby dragons look like. They look like cats with wings.
There were 2 other Lunar games, apparently, but I guess I've heard about this recently, but I guess they were really bad.
One of them, in order to run, as you're running, because if you run on the world map to increase your speed, your hit points tick down. People are like, unforgivable, and I'm like, I kind of agree.
It's
That's like
kinda
the punch yourself in the face mechanic from Final Fantasy II. I don't care how good the game is, that is an unforgivable mechanic. Another game, cult game, I don't think enough people have played, that I really adore in the PlayStation is As Your Dreams.
Oh god, I know that one.
There's a tower, and you go. Every time you go in the tower, you reset, but the monsters you have get their skills, and it's a roguelike. I like roguelikes. I know a lot of people don't. I love roguelikes.
Oh, another game, another RPG for the PlayStation 1.
Uh-huh.
Jade Cocoon.
I love Jade Cocoon.
Yes. I even liked its sequel, but it on the PlayStation 2. But
I never played its sequel.
yeah, it was okay. It probably wasn't as... You got to see a bunch of clear system fixes and all that, but other than that, it probably...
Oh, don't fall, dude. Don't fall.
I would probably say it wasn't as good.
Mm-hmm.
And they did the stupid thing where the hero from the other game became a disillusioned Death Seeker. But you don't, to be fair, Levant maintains his happiness and for 90% of the main story.
Mm-hmm.
It's only right near the end after you've pretty much accomplished the first dungeon, like 3/4, maybe even close to 4/5 the game. You realize Levant's become...
By the way, this is Billy, because he's a bad guy. Duh.
But yeah, it's...
Yeah.
I like Jade Cocoon a lot.
I like Jade Cocoon a lot, too. There's a lot of very mediocre, monstery tamer games, like Monster Seeds and Dragon Seeds, and...
I love Monster Rancher.
Monster Rancher was great. The first Digimon World game was amazing if it wasn't such a glitchy mess. It is... I've seen some people try to remake it for the PC, cut out the glitches, but I've never seen anyone complete... Seriously, I believe, Konami, I believe, is one of those rights to the Digimon games?
Bandai.
Bandai, just give me a report. I will buy a PlayStation 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 if you just give me a report of Digimon World. You could probably put the first 3 games on a modern disc.
Probably.
I've never played 3. 2 is not great. It's a very generic RPG style game.
I don't have high hopes for Survive. Digimon Survive, the new one.
I haven't even seen it. Digimon World 4, which is a PlayStation 2 Xbox game, it's Gauntlet. It's just Gauntlet. It's just Gauntlet. Your Agumon's got a sword and he just walks around hacking waves of monsters.
Why does Agumon have a sword?
Because it's Gauntlet. They're like, hey, we made a Gauntlet game.
Not even we're doing it our way. It is literally just Gauntlet.
It is just monsters pour out of spawn points you have to smash. Like, it's like they made a Gauntlet game and then realized they didn't have the rights to Gauntlet. Which they need to make a new Gauntlet game. Unfortunately, we will never get the Gauntlet game without adding the 2 new characters. Because the guys who were on the team left and took the rights to the Tragedician and the Lancer with them. Because Seven Stars was supposed to introduce 2 new characters, and they didn't. Because the guys who created them were like, no, we're sick of whichever company, Midway. We're sick of Midway screwing us over. Peace, and we're taking our designs with us.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. So, what do you say? Do you think the Super Nintendo was, or the PlayStation 1 was a better era for role-playing games?
In my opinion, it depends on whether or not you value the importance of your roots or the advances you take from them. I think that's really it. If you're all about where we are now, then you would want more of the PlayStation era. And Super Nintendo more for the lot of the big innovations.
Kind of where I stand is, of Super Nintendo ones we forgot to mention would be Eye of the Beholder, which I think was a great game, and I like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and screw you guys who hate on it. It's not a bad game.
The only thing I really hated about Mystic Quest is I never finished it.
Yeah. There's a lot of games I haven't finished. But kind of where I stand is, I think the Super Nintendo had more, by Billy, had more great games, and the PlayStation had... The Super Nintendo had a lot of great games. The PlayStation had a decent number of great games and just a fuck ton of really good games. Like, they had a lot of role-playing games that couldn't match Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy IV. But man, there was a lot of games that are certainly worth your time on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I would say if you were doing a bell curve, it would be the Super Nintendo would probably look like from great game, freaking amazing, awesome to horrible. Super Nintendo would probably be like that, and then PlayStation would probably be more like an actual bell curve. Probably skewed more towards the good, but yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there were it is more like in the Super Nintendo. There's very little in between. It's either a great game or a shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would probably say Golden Age, Super Nintendo, Silver Age, PlayStation 1, and I'll take bronze for PlayStation 2, even though some of my favorites are on, I hear a lot of people bitch about Sora and Kingdom Hearts. I like Sora.
Yeah, I did too.
I will spoil my feelings for Final Fantasy X versus 7. My issue with Final Fantasy VII is Cloud always feels like a passive participant in the plot. The plot exists because he exists in the plot because it keeps pulling him in. Tidus is an active participant. The plot could go forward if Tidus stayed home, but Tidus willingly wants to be part of the story. He is eager to help the people who... Because the story is Yuna's story.
Yes.
But he is so eager to help Yuna that he is actively participating in the events of the plot instead of being passively... And I just don't like passive protagonists.
Whatever.
And that's what I like about Sora, is he is very active. He's like, yeah, let's go save these worlds.
Yeah, okay.
Check out my holy relic.
What else could you expect from a Disney character, honestly?
Yeah, that's fair. Also, Donald and Goofy are just likable characters.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about Mary Sue Mickey helping you out.
Although you go to a world and you switch out one of those two for the guest character every time, because...
guest characters tend to just be better.
See, in Kingdom Hearts 1, I never used the guest characters. Because you couldn't use the Trinities everywhere if you had a guest character.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And Kingdom Hearts 2, they make you swap them out when you go to the secondary worlds.
3, everyone's active.
Oh, really? Can I have a 4-man party?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's
3,
good.
everyone's there.
I really like that, then. I haven't played 3 yet. Don't follow the plot of Kingdom Hearts. It's stupid and complicated.
Horrendously convoluted. I will say I haven't played 3. Probably not going to get it. I don't know. Unless it comes on dramatic sale soon.
Yeah.
But as in dramatic, as in like down to $5. Because yeah.
I'll probably buy a used copy of it soon, but I enjoy the Kingdom Hearts games. I don't try to follow the full narrative. I'm just like, okay, what world am I at now? Cool. I'm gonna go help Mulan, take care of the Mongols who are being aided by Organization 13 because that's the way this works.
Because mustache twirling. Yes.
Go ahead.
Because the story of Kingdom Hearts is convoluted and it does something that I really don't like in a lot of expanded narratives, where in order to truly know what's going on, you do have to have played something you may not have access to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what YouTube's for.
Yeah.
That's how I know the plot of Kingdom Hearts is I watched like a 4-hour live stream of some guy trying to teach another guy the plot of Kingdom Hearts, which he then did that Kingdom Hearts story in like half hour or whatever. Was a good enough summary of Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah.
I do not remember the name of that channel.
It was. I think it was good enough. It was close to,
The video was a good enough summary of Kingdom Hearts.
yeah, oversimplified or whatever.
I do want to mention something real quick for the PlayStation. Dragon Quest VII, which I've been playing the DS report of. It's a good game, but man, I think it's got the same issue that Final Fantasy XI had, where it's like you're halfway through the game before the world opens up and you can finally switch classes.
Yeah.
And you're like halfway through the game before it opens up All Trades Abbey.
Oh,
Yeah.
13? You mean
Oh, yeah, yes, Final Fantasy 13. I don't know which Final Fantasy game it is.
11 was the MMO.
Oh, yeah.
The first MMO.
I stopped playing them after 10.
Alright.
No, technically I played 10 too.
So, we all wrapped up here?
I
think of anything else?
I believe so.
Okay, well,
And yes, we were specifically talking about JRPGs, if you want to get technical.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess. Because we mentioned, like I mentioned, Eye of the Beholder.
there were some non-Japanese ones.
Hey, why don't you leave?
No, the style, JRPG.
Yeah.
But still, again, Eye of the Beholder, not like that.
Yeah, because it's
No.
kind of that first person
Yeah,
style.
it's more Eastern, West,
Western.
Western.
But
European!
it is an amazing game.
yeah.
Hey, viewer, who's here, who watches us, one guy. leave your opinion in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe because I'm a total whore.
Yes. Yes, we are.
That's right, we want money. What's this about likes?
Yeah.
Ring,
Forget that. Just get us monetized.
I'm
ring
not
the bell.
here for your entertainment. Only, maybe literally, we are here. Never mind.
We're here for our entertainment. And remember to ring the bell. Go outside, get that cowbell, and just ding, ding. That's how YouTube works, right? You go outside and you ring the bell.
Close enough. For us.
Go outside, don't stay safe, catch all the viruses. I'm kidding.
Go outside, just, in all seriousness, just Germex and, don't lick people's faces.
Especially if they're babies. Don't lick babies.
That's good advice, no matter what pandemic we're in.
Yes.
Don't walk around licking random babies.
You will get arrested for this.
Also, I have 2 kids. Kids are gross.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.